guys, welcome to day 2 and we are going to learn about the other types of fossils. But before we start, I want you guys to do a small activity. I want you to tell or just think about it. Do organisms actually leave behind any clues about their existence? I'm not talking about hard parts like bones or shells or wood, or soft parts like muscles or tissues actually mean something other than those. Are there any other clues about their existence? And what other evidence of past life do paleontologists exactly look for? Go ahead and stop this video for a few seconds before we start the video. Now, let's talk about types of fossils. First, we are going to look at trace fossils. So trace fossils are basically any kind of fossils that are preserved naturally, and they kind of show us the evidence of animal activity. Now, if you did the think to yourself activity, you might have wondered, oh, is there anything else that probably was captured that paleontologists can study? This is one. So it is basically naturally preserved, and it's not the animal per se, but more like the animal's activity. And these form when, for example, animal footprints fill up with sediments and are preserved in rock. And they also reveal information about animals that made like how big it was, or how fast it was moving. So the distance between the various footprints or the size of the footprints can give us a lot of these information, right? Now, another example that I do want to talk about is those of dinosaurs. Now, scientists do believe, or they at least hypothesize, that dinosaurs kind of moved in herds. And that's because they found a lot of parallel trackways where dinosaur footprints were shown or were seen to move in the same directions. So these are the small clues or hints that tell us about different things, about different lifestyles that these animals led. Now, trace fossils, again, if you remember, is about the animal activity. And one of the animal activity that we're going to talk about is burrows or burrow fossil. Now, burrows are kind of like a type of trace fossil. We just said that. And burrows are actually like shelters that are made by animals, like clams. Clams are some type of animals or organisms that make burrows that bury in the sediment, right? These are like tracks, burrows, which are preserved. They are filled with sediment and buried quickly. Now, if you look over here, to your right, you kind of see a burrow formation. If you see here, this is probably how the animal made their burrow or their shelter. And when it got filled with sediment and turned into rock, it kind of formed a fossil. And this is what is known as burrow fossil. Next, we are going to look at coprolite. Coprolite, that's how you say that. Coprolite is another type of trace fossil, and these are formed when animal dungs get preserved. So animal dungs get preserved, and see, if you look over here, this is the actual scale ratio. So these are actually very tiny. I mean, some of these are huge, but these are actually animal dungs that kind of solidified, got preserved, and turned to fossils. Now, these would be known as coprolite fossils. Other types of fossils include molds and casts. These are two more examples of fossils. Now, molds are kind of like cavities in rocks where a plant or animal was once buried. So you can actually kind of see the imprint that it left behind after it was decayed or decomposed. These are kind of like marks or cavities, like I already said, made in sedimentary surface by a shell or other body. On the other hand, a cast is an object which is created when sediments fill a mold and become a rock. These kind of show what the outside of an organism looked like. and sediments fill in the cavity left by a decomposed organism. Now, just to differentiate, molds are basically cavities that are left behind. These are not always cavities, these can be marks as well. And these are formed when the plant or animal was buried and either got decomposed or through some other reason it just, does not exist anymore. On the other hand, cast, to review, is when sediments fill the mold. Okay, so sediments fill the mold and then becomes the rock. That's what a cast is. Now let's look at some examples of molds and casts. If you look over here, this is another example of mold. This is also another example of mold. It shows you the outside surface, what it looks like. It's not exactly a cavity, but it is a mold because it shows us what the animal kind of looked like. The same can be said over here. And we have some other examples here. This is a cast. It probably filled the surface or filled the cavity that was left behind by the mold and became rock. So this is an example of a cast. This is also another example of a cast, but these two are molds. I hope you guys understood today's topic. To review, today we learned about different kinds of trace fossils. Specifically, we learned about burrows and coprolites, and we also learned about molds and casts. If you have any questions, please go ahead and follow up with me as soon as you can. And I will see you later. Bye.